3 months ago, I learned of my Uncle Harold's passing. We weren't particularly close, but he left me one of his houses in his will. I was touched, honestly, but I didn't have the time or energy to take care of it. I'm a new father to twin girls, and the last thing I needed was another property to manage. So my plan was simple. Go there, get it ready, and sell it. Since my job only requires a laptop and a phone, I arranged to work remotely while I handled everything. Unfortunately, my wife Melissa couldn't come. She had to stay for work, so it was just me, alone. At first, I treated it like a mini vacation. I figured I'd only be there a week or two, but it didn't take long to realize that the process would take a lot longer than I thought. The house was quiet, too quiet. Sometimes I'd lose track of time. Other times I'd find things in the wrong place. My phone, my watch, a mug I swore I'd left in the kitchen. I thought it was just a stress, or maybe the silence playing tricks on me. Then the neighbor came by. She was an older woman, maybe late 70s, with a soft voice and a small golden retriever on a leash. "This is Buster," she told me. She explained that she'd been watching him while my uncle was in the hospital. Now that I was here, she thought I should take him. At first, I thought she might be confused. She spoke about my uncle as if he'd passed only a week ago, even though it had been nearly a month. But Buster seemed friendly enough, and I didn't have the heart to say no. He followed me everywhere. But I noticed something strange. He refused to go upstairs. Every time I tried to call him up, he'd just stand at the bottom of the steps, tail between his legs. That was fine with me. I figured maybe he was old or nervous. Until one afternoon, he disappeared. 1 second, he was right behind me in the kitchen, waiting for a treat. I turned around to put the jar away, and when I looked back, he was gone. I called his name and searched every room in the house. The kitchen, the living room, the bedroom, even the basement. No sign of him. I finally went outside and searched the neighborhood for nearly an hour. When I came back, I opened the front door, and there was Buster, running down the hall toward me from the kitchen. I was relieved, but confused. Every door and window had been locked. That night, I let him sleep beside me. Looking back, that was a mistake. Days passed. I got busy with work again. The house faded into the background while I focused on calls and spreadsheets. Sometimes I'd get lost in my work and look up to realize it was already night. Buster would whine for food or a walk, and I'd wave him off until I remembered hours later. Then, one night, we both heard it. A door upstairs, slamming shut. Buster froze. Then for the first time, he ran up the stairs on his own. I grabbed the phone, but I didn't call the cops. I didn't even know what I'd tell them. I grabbed the nearest thing that could be used as a weapon, a frying pan, and followed. The upstairs hallway was dark. Moonlight spilled in through the windows, just enough to see Buster standing stiffly in front of the bathroom door. It was wide open. I knew I'd closed it earlier. I flicked the light switch. Nothing. The power worked fine downstairs, but not here. Buster was trembling, staring straight into the darkness. I stepped closer, raising the pan. The room smelled damp. Then I felt something stick to my shoe. I reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, and turned on the flashlight. The floor was covered in a dark red puddle. Blood. I froze. Then bolted downstairs, Buster right behind me, as I dialed 911. 2 officers arrived within minutes. They searched the house and went upstairs. A moment later, one called down, "Sir, looks like rusty water, probably a burst pipe." When I went back up, the puddle was brown. The lights worked again. They laughed it off, gave me a plumber's number, and left. That night I couldn't sleep. I just lay there listening to the hum of the refrigerator and the creaks of the old floorboards. In the morning, I tried to go back to work, but I was restless, irritable. When Buster made a mess on the carpet, I yelled at him, loud, too loud. Afterward, I broke down and called my boss, told him I needed a break. He agreed immediately. So I decided to take a few days off to clear my head. Buster and I spent the next day outside. I played fetch with him, fed him treats, tried to feel normal again. It almost worked. Until I went upstairs. There, written across the wall in red paint, or maybe something worse, were the words, "Losing your mind?" I stumbled back. My heart was pounding. Someone had been in the house. Again. I locked myself in the bedroom and called the police. The same 2 officers came back. We searched every room together. Every door was locked, every window shut, no one there. One of them admitted there had been reports from other homes nearby, break-ins where nothing was stolen. He offered to have a patrol car watch the place overnight. I said yes, but I knew I wasn't staying another night. I called my old friend Derek, who lived about half an hour away. He said he'd come get me in the morning. When he called to say he'd arrived, I grabbed my suitcase and went outside, but the driveway was empty. He swore he was there. I could hear him knocking on the door, and then I heard an elderly woman's voice answer. She said she'd lived there for 20 years, said she'd never heard of me or my Uncle Harold. I ran to the mailbox to check the house number. It wasn't there. Instead, written in red on the curb were the words, "Losing your mind?" I wanted to run, but I couldn't leave Buster. When I went back inside, my suitcase was empty. Everything I'd packed was back in its place. I tried the front door, locked. Tried the back door, locked. Nothing. I looked down at Buster and whispered, "Let's go for a walk, buddy." The glass door slid open easily. We stepped into the backyard. The night air felt heavy still. Buster sniffed around, tail wagging. There was a fence at the back, with a tree that grew too close to it. The branches stretched out over the top. I climbed up, scraping my hands. When I reached the top, I looked down and saw the living room. I was back inside the house. The phone rang. I ran to it and heard Melissa's voice. She sounded relieved, but also confused. "You've been gone over a week," she said. "Your boss called me. You never checked in." I told her that couldn't be true. They'd given me time off. There was silence. Then her voice changed, mocking, taunting. "Please help you?" she said. "When's the last time you ate? I wonder what Buster tastes like." I slammed the phone down. Buster whimpered upstairs. I found him lying outside the bathroom, thin, weak, barely moving. The walls were covered now, every inch. "Losing your mind?" written over and over again in red. Then came the knocking, a man's voice, one of the officers, shouting from the front door. Then a woman's voice answered him. Melissa's voice. "She's resting upstairs," she said. "Can I help you?" A gunshot echoed. The hallway twisted, stretching out endlessly. I ran, screaming, until suddenly I was back at the top of the stairs. I fell and landed hard on Buster. He didn't move. When I looked up, I saw blood under the bedroom door. Something moved inside. I grabbed the frying pan and pushed the door open. The officer stood there, smiling. Then I looked down. A knife was in my hand, and it was buried in his chest. He fell. I fell, and Buster was gone. I buried him in the backyard that night. I told myself I'd deal with the officer later, but when I tried to eat, I couldn't. Every bite tasted like rot. Later, I noticed the front door was open. Outside, the patrol car sat in the driveway. Keys still in the ignition. I got in and drove. Left turn, right turn, left turn. No cars, no people, just road. Then suddenly, I was sitting in the living room again, hands gripping an invisible steering wheel. The laptop on the table was glowing. On the screen, a message was already typed. "Lost your mind? Good. Now you won't mind losing the rest." I tried to delete it, to type something else, but instead new words appeared on their own. "I'm sorry. I've disappointed you all. For the last time, goodbye." I looked around the room and realized I couldn't remember my uncle's face or my wife's name. I couldn't remember if I ever had children. All I could remember was this house and the message written everywhere. "Losing your mind?" I'm in a mess, and I honestly don't know what to do. So I'll start at the beginning. 5 years ago, my next-door neighbor, Greg Dalton, we all just called him Greg, reported that his 15-year-old son, Noah, had disappeared. It was on the local news here in Cedar Ridge, Ohio. Flyers, searches, vigils, everything. My wife, Jenna, and I did what we could, dropping off food, offering to help. But as months turned into years with no word, we assumed his family had been forced to accept the worst. We never had the courage to ask if a body was ever found. After that, the Daltons weren't the same. Elaine, Greg's wife, went quiet, haunted looking. Greg became jumpy, distracted, like he couldn't stand still for more than a minute. Understandable, given what they'd been through. Fast forward to last week. I was rolling our garbage bin to the curb when Greg walked over and asked, almost too casually, if he could borrow a shovel. I didn't think twice. I grabbed my best one from the garage and handed it over. He thanked me, said he had some yard work and would bring it back tomorrow, then disappeared. From the upstairs hallway window, I can see most of Greg's backyard. When I glanced out, he was digging, not a garden trench or a fence post hole, but a deep, wide pit near the back fence. He's 56, and it showed. He was struggling, stopping often to catch his breath. I figured I'd grab my backup shovel and offer to help. When I stepped into his yard and called, "Greg, need a hand?" He jerked up, dropped my shovel, and hurried toward me. No, it's okay, Aaron. I've got it. Please, just leave." It was the way he said it, too sharp, too panicked. I laughed it off. "It's not a big deal, man. I'm already here." His eyes flashed. "I will not allow you to use that shovel in my backyard." He actually pointed at the gate like I was a dog. I was so thrown by how he was acting that I just left without another word. Back upstairs, I watched again through the window. Greg kept digging for at least another half hour, then paused and stared up at the nearby houses, scanning windows, including ours. Before I could step away, he spotted me. I pretended I was just walking past the window and kept going, heart thudding. He was up to something. I wanted to know what. Later, every time I checked, the yard was empty. I figured he knew I'd seen him and would wait for dark. I was right. Around 1:30 a.m., I heard the metallic clank of a shovel from outside. It was too dark to see from the window, so I slipped out back and peered over the fence. In the moonlight, I could make him out, digging hard, breathing heavier now. When he went inside, I took my chance, hopped the fence and crept to the edge of the hole. The moon gave me just enough light to see a black trash bag half buried at the bottom, a torn corner sticking up through the dirt. I looked at his back door, then back at the hole, back at the door, back at the hole. My stomach turned. I almost reached in. Footsteps inside. I bolted, back over the fence and into my yard. Seconds later, Greg came out again, but he didn't return to the pit. He went around the side of the house and didn't come back. I slipped inside and slid into bed without waking Jenna, staring at the ceiling until dawn. First thing in the morning, I checked the window. The hole was gone, the ground perfectly smoothed over, like nothing had ever been there. One more thing, Greg's SUV, usually parked in his driveway, was now on the street. I don't know what happened after I went to bed. I don't know what was in that bag. But I can't stop thinking about Noah. For all I know, Greg dug something up, not down, and took it somewhere else in the middle of the night. It's just speculation. Call me crazy. I haven't told anyone, not even Jenna. And honestly, I don't know what to do. Greg never brought my shovel back, and I'm not asking for it. He's been avoiding me ever since. Yesterday, I happened to glance across at their house and saw Greg standing at an upstairs window, staring directly into ours. When he realized I'd seen him, he shut the blinds. Broad daylight. I have no idea what to do. I'm honestly terrified.